I added so many bosses and so many weapons and so many gadgets to my Minecraft mod. It's honestly unbelievable. This update has taken so long, but I'm really excited to start talking about it. I don't even know where to start. Tungsten tools can be crafted with tungsten, but there is no tungsten sword. It's actually a tungsten hammer, which can be crafted with a block. This weapon does 18 attack damage with slow hit speed, but right-clicking with the hammer will cause an explosion. A boomerang can be crafted with 6 logs, and when thrown, it will actually come back to you, like this. Although you can get hit by it. This is just a pretty okay range weapon that's pretty cheap to craft. It can also be upgraded with 3 mahogany and 4 tungsten to get the Kylie boomerang, which when thrown it won't come back, but it does a lot more damage. Also, Agent Orange can now be used to delete the object, but it keeps the treasure block, so it will make raiding these things pretty easy. Here are a ton of other weapons we have. Pink Eye is crafted like this and will shoot a projectile at the cost of your health. The Chunk Exploder requires rockets to be used, and will shoot out a missile, which will explode. And with 3 of these, Monster Glue and a bunch of other crap we'll talk about later, we get Davy Crockett, which requires the Big Fat Missile to be used, which has a new crafting recipe and a new texture, by the way. But yeah, this is what happens when you shoot it. Yeah, big hole in the ground. The Water Scepter is just a budget Terraria Aqua Scepter. You can shoot out water with it. Spike balls can be crafted like so, and when thrown, they'll actually bounce off of blocks. These are very fun. I can't believe I actually got something like this to work. I've always wanted a bouncing projectile in my mod, and now I actually have one. And also, the Spike Ball Arbalist can be crafted like this with a new item we'll talk about later, and it just shoots spike balls a lot further than being thrown. With grass ingots, a chunk burster, a rotor, and some other stuff, we get the Leaf Blower, which requires leaf charge. And when shot, the Leaf Blower will create some leaves. So these can be used to trap and stun enemies in their place, and also to make the dry forest look a little bit better, you know? On the other side of the coin, we have Green Ball, crafted with boogers, conch, chunk blaster, bio scrap, and they require Ball of Green to be used, which requires this stuff. This is inspired by the green ball in Liero. But yeah, when shot, it creates some green stuff in front of you. So it can be used for easy building, like evasion type of stuff. Kind of cool. You could trap people in it if you wanted. Although these projectiles do not work on entities, so you can't like suffocate someone in this. Grippers can be found in the dry forest biome. And these are a hostile dinosaur-like enemy, but they can be tamed with unhinged spores. And when they're tamed, they'll create flowers wherever they walk. They're pretty cool. I just thought these were like a cool idea, you know. Kind of adorable, you know, it's a little dinosaur. Hey buddy, how you doing? There's also another new enemy that spawns in caves, the cavorts. They're just like insects. Here's a new doohickey you can make, the tack shooter. This might look a little bit familiar. But yeah, you can place arrows inside of the tack shooter, and then if you give it a redstone pulse, it shoots arrows in 8 directions. Pretty cool for defense, maybe even some tower defense type of deal. Now let's start talking about the new bosses before we talk about more of the random cool stuff I added. In fact, almost every single boss in the mod got reworked, so we're going to talk about all of them. But let's start with the new bosses. There's a whole new path of bosses, first of all. The first boss on this new roster of bosses to fight, we need to be in a jungle biome form, and we have to break just leaves. Eventually, if you keep breaking leaves, you'll find bananas in the trees of the jungle. And with 4 bananas, you can craft the gorilla treat, which is used to summon the first new boss, the gorilla. The gorilla's a freaking fatty, but he is kind of adorable. Oh my gosh! Yeah, I should probably mention the new path of bosses that I added. They are meant to be really difficult to kill. Not like really difficult, but they're meant to be fought after things like the homunculus. So they're pretty much the last bosses you want to fight before the alien invasion. These bosses are required to fight the alien invasion now, because it's a new path of bosses. Kind of like how there's the homunculus path and then the Lenny the Licker path, but now there's also the gorilla path we have to do. Alright, let's continue. Yeah, the gorilla can explode, so we should just keep that in mind. But he'll also throw bananas at us, which will leave these banana peels, and if we step on them, we get shot into the air. Oh boy. Uh-oh. I just keep landing on him. That's not good. He's chasing me now. When the gorilla dies, this is what he drops. First of all, mahogany bark, which we already know of, but also hair, which we'll talk about later. But he'll also drop the banana blaster, which requires bananas to be used. And this pretty much just lets you do his banana attack, so you shoot out a banana, and it leaves a little peel behind. It's pretty cool. Maybe good for transportation or parkour. I have no idea. You guys can find something cool to do with this. I have no idea. Another thing, though, is he drops gorilla meat, which not only can be cooked to be like a really good food source, but it's also used for the ultimate, which is used to make another boss. The boss fought after the gorilla. Before we leave the jungle, though, let's talk about this new mob, the monkey. They spawn in jungles. They're pretty adorable. I like how they look. But yeah, when they die, they drop something kind of cool. First of all, they drop hair, which this is not the primary way to get hair, but we'll talk about that more later. Also, they're neutral. Here it is, the monkey paw. And now the monkey paw is a very useful item if you get it. This thing could put you really far ahead if you're early game. But yeah, it says R click to use. If I use it, It gives me a bunch of riches, although I'm very slow, so it's kind of hard to pick them up. Also worth noting that these items actually disappear after a little bit, so I can't collect them all, but you can see I got some bronze, gold, and iron. But it actually has 3 uses, so I can use it again to try and get my stuff. I'm doing okay. Just let me get the diamond. There we go. I got a diamond. I died, though. Another thing that you might find useful for bosses is this new crop, coffee, which can just be found in grass and stuff. Now, coffee can be grown like any other crop. You know, you just plant it, and you bone meal it, or saltpeter it in my case, and you get some coffee. If you craft a mug out of 5 bricks, and you combine it with 6 coffee beans, you get the coffee mug, which when you drink it, you get speed 2 and haste 2 for 2 minutes. Very helpful for mining and for transportation, I can imagine. So yeah, go crazy with this, especially considering it's pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to get a bunch of coffee beans once you have one. But yeah, we gotta use this coffee and explore for a bit, because we gotta find an ocean biome for our next boss. We're at an ocean, and we're on the lookout for a new structure here. It's this inconspicuous little rock floating in the ocean. And over here, we'll find mermaids. They actually spawn here. They have a little thing, so that's cool. But yeah, we want to kill these guys. Because, normally they drop something better, but I just got caught. I got pretty unlucky. What will this one give me? There we go. We got mermaid scales. And this is needed for a few things. First of all, we need it for the ultimate. But it can also be used to craft the water scepter from earlier, as well as tridents out of refined moissanite and reinforced diamond. There's also really rare Fiji mermaids you can find underwater as well. And these have a lot more health and normally are a lot faster. I don't know why this one isn't moving, and it drops nothing good. But yeah, let's talk about the next boss, which is probably either easier or maybe slightly harder than the gorilla, depending on what you do and what you bring. To summon it, we need the ultimate, which is crafted out of a bunch of different meats: squirrel, jerky plus, sausage, mermaid scales, ruckus, gorilla. And we also need 3 cod and a mermaid scale, and that gives us serpent bait, which has to be used in the ocean biome to summon the next boss. Meet the wet noodle. And this boss is kind of freaky because it does a lot of damage. Oh my gosh, I don't want to die, bruh. And yeah, he does a lot of damage, so I recommend having way better armor. Like, I'm using beetle armor right now, which is pretty good, but honestly, probably not enough. Having something like diamond or tungsten armor would be a good call at this stage. I'm actually going to bring tungsten. And this boss is pretty weird because he has to be fought in the water, because he inflicts an effect on you, which makes it so you take damage if you're not in the water. And that's a little tough because that makes it kind of hard to use ranged weapons when you're fighting him, because, you know, bullets, they don't work very well in the water. I honestly have no idea what strategies you could use. I wasn't thinking a lot when I made this boss. I don't even know how much I like it, but I do like the model at least. I think that's kind of fun. But yeah, you can see he's pretty hard to kill. He also strikes you with lightning and does a lot of damage. So, you know, just be careful about that. And he pushes you out of the water. There we go. I died. On the bright side, though, he has pretty low health, kind of low defense, so he shouldn't be that bad. I'm drowning. I'm drowning. I'm drowning. Yeah. He gives you the inverted lung effect, which makes it so you drown outside of water. And you can see that's happening to me right now. I'm not in water, but I'm still drowning. I have it for quite a long time, too. Honestly, if someone can come up with a strategy for this guy, I'd be amazed. This boss could probably use some balancing. But, you know, unhinged Minecraft mod, we need some unhinged bosses that are pretty unfair and not fun. So, you know, that's one of them. But this is what the wet noodle drops. Not a lot, but we can see nuclear waste, which is also going to damage me, and also some mermaid scales and this new item over here. This is wet noodle sashimi, which gives you water breathing for a minute every time you eat it. And he drops quite a bit, so this is pretty good water breathing for you. But yeah, the wet noodle sashimi is actually required for the next boss as well. Alright, so we have to take these beetle scales and graft them to get some infestation tissue samples. And then we also have to graft the wet noodle sashimi for knockback tissue samples, and I need 4 of those. But yeah, in an incubator, we need 4 knockback tissue samples. We need 3 infestation tissue samples, and I think we need 1 volatile one. I need to double check. Oh, it's only 3 of these. Okay. We also need an egg, and now that's going to do its thing. And yeah, here we go. We get the deadly embryo to summon the next boss. And this next boss is really deadly. I would advise having a good setup before fighting him, and maybe even an arena. But yeah, if I throw him, we get the Scarab. And yeah, he shoots a lot of purple smoke and lightning. Like, holy crap, what is this lightning spam, bruh? Stop! Please! Yeah, he's killing me. There's no doubt about that. He is killing me. Doing a pretty good job at it. I just tabbed out. Although what's funny about the Scarab is I forgot to make him immune to lightning, so he's just killing himself. I should probably fix that. Alright, buddy, it's time to pay. I got the Chunkeruptor here to take you out. What are you doing? Worth noting, every time he hits you, he inflicts you with ZOMG zap effect. But yeah, once that effect goes away, you get struck by lightning, like it spawns on you. Unless you're sneaking. So if you're sneaking, you can actually dodge that attack. So that's worth noting. There we go, I killed him though. And he dropped a lot of treasure. By treasure, he actually only really drops 1 or 2 things. He can drop the magic wand and the Scarab scales, which is what we want for progression. But yeah, Scarab scales are needed for the next boss. Because with a Scarab scale, Forsaken Foreskin from a different boss, 6 string and a TNT, we get the Doom Cocoon. Now there's a new enemy that we can find, the Caterpillar. It's a pretty adorable, pretty weak passive mob that you can find spawning in forests and similar biomes. But yeah, we can turn him into a really, really destructive boss with the Doom Cocoon. I'm honestly kind of scared to do it because I don't want to die. But yeah, if I use the Doom Cocoon, we get Mothzor. And this boss is extremely dangerous because it just spams TNT and flamethrowers. And also poison and spike balls. Yep, I'm going to get killed very quickly. I highly recommend having blast-resistant armor and other enchants before taking on this boss. Because just look at that. How are you supposed to compete with that? Raining not included. Oh, we found some malachite. That's nice of him. Thank you, Mothzor. But yeah, pretty much the Mothzor dashes around and carpet bombs the area, as well as shooting flamethrower balls all over the place. You can see him do that. Yeah, and you can see the flamethrower balls from him. Very destructive. And he's, like, pretty accurate. Like, I'm surprised I made a flying boss that was this good at moving, because normally it's kind of hard to do. Some good old custom movement. And he is a flying mob, so he can fly. Kind of hard to hit him with melee. And he also has a lot of health. He's the last boss of this path to fight before we get to the alien invasion, I should probably mention. Overall, though, he's honestly not that bad. As long as you dodge his TNT and you're careful, like, you should have nothing to worry about, really. Blast resistance could definitely be helpful in this fight. Because he's not very well coordinated. It's kind of hard for him to actually, like, melee hit you. Except he got really close to me there. Although I can actually melee him now. Yeah, touching him gives you, like, poison too, so, you know, just keep that in mind. We have pretty formidable boss. Chunkeruptor trivializes him, though, like every other boss. I need to nerf this thing. I'm definitely going to give it a cooldown like the rocket launcher. Yeah, he also summons spike balls, I should probably mention. There's quite a few enemies that do, actually. I need to turn off the weather. It's probably absolutely destroying the bitrate right now. All right, I'm about to kill Mothzor, but I really do not want him to destroy his own drops, or else I'll have to do this again. Mothzor, please be careful, young blood. He's about to do it. He's about to do it. He's about to do it. Kill him. He's dead! We killed Mothzor. And he drops a lot of Mothzor scales and also sulfur and a few other things, but we just got unlucky this time. He drops like gunpowder and stuff as well. But yeah, the scales are what we're after because they're actually needed to craft the alien beacon for the alien invasion. They can also be decrafted into gunpowder. But yeah, let's do a little lightning round of all the bosses that got reworked in this update. We have pretty much every single boss and even an event got a touch up in this update. This really is like the boss update, to be honest. I'm really proud of what I did because I made a lot of bosses actually fun. But yeah, let's start with the homunculus, everyone's favorite. First of all, now he isn't a pushover. He will actually fling tears at you. He's angry at the fact that you created him. But yeah, other than that, he's still pretty easy to kill. He still shoots tears in all directions, but when he gets below a certain amount of health, he will actually start shooting more tears. You can see here, now he's shooting tears in 8 directions, and he's also summoning rotten chunks. He does that when he gets low. But yeah, I'm about to finish him off, so put him out of his misery. He also has a lot of new drops. He can drop any meat, and he can drop multiple tears. And he can also drop the pink eye bow from earlier. But of course, he also drops the homunculus corpse. And, you know, we need that for progression. Next boss on the other side of progression, we got Lenny the Licker. He's now a lot more interesting than just being a zombie with a lot of health, which is what he was previously. Now he will try and lick you. Pretty much he'll eject his tongue out, which cannot, like, go infinitely far like a regular projectile. But if you're close to him, he can slap you with his tongue, and that will fling you pretty far, like so. Lenny the Licker is also immune to knockback now, and he's way faster. He also does a lot of damage. I want to say he does other stuff too. I don't remember what other attacks I gave him. That might have just been it, to be honest, so I wanted to keep him chill. Because, you know, he's technically supposed to be, like, the easiest boss. Debatably, the homunculus is, but honestly, it could be either of them. But yeah, he does a lot more when killed, too. First of all, he summons locusts when he dies, and he drops cool stuff. He drops repulsion torches. He drops kidney stones, rotten flesh, and also nuclear waste. And of course, he always drops the Lenny tongue. That's like his signature item. And of course, you need the Lenny tongue to get refined jawbreaker, needed to summon the iPad kid invasion, which let's talk about that now. I actually made that invasion good. If you remember when I first added the iPad kids invasion in that one update, it had like nothing in it. That's because around that time, I didn't really have a lot of motivation to work on the mod, so I didn't add a lot. But yeah, I finally gave the invasion the proper touch-up and attention that it needed. And now it's actually a proper event that actually matters, kind of, and is actually somewhat difficult. First of all, the way to summon it hasn't changed. You need a toilet, and you have to put grime in the toilet, and that will start the invasion. And now you can see iPad kids are falling from the sky. And now we all recognize this one, right? This is the normal iPad kid. We've talked about him before. He has new sound effects and some new drops. He can drop sugar and mystery meat along with the broken iPad, which we're gonna need for something later because it's used for actually cool stuff now. Oh my gosh, that was a loud sound. But yeah, over there, this is one of the new enemies, the booger thrower. Although I'm getting mobbed by other ones that are kind of annoying me. But yeah, the booger thrower will throw boogers at you that inflict the poison effect. So they're just kind of a dangerous enemy, you know? They're a ranged enemy that shoots boogers. What is there not to love? They can drop boogers as well as the other iPad Kid stuff. The last enemy on our list is the Thumper. And the Thumper will jump in the air and try to land on you, doing a lot of damage. Overall, though, he's honestly not that difficult. He's actually probably easier than the regular iPad Kid. But he is the rarest enemy to spawn. It is a little bit more variety, and actually good items from this event are kind of all I really did. But, you know, it matters. Also, just a disclaimer, I do not want to beat up kids in real life. But yeah, now let's talk about what the broken iPad can actually do. Yes, it's fixable now. We can fix this thing. With reinforced diamond, obsidian glass, and a bunch of smart electronic, we can make the iPad. And the iPad is very useful. Because if we sneak right-click, we can change what action the iPad does. For example, we have a dash with the iPad. So yeah, this is similar to the Nimble Rod, but you get it a lot earlier. Although the dash is weaker than the Nimble Rod, because the Nimble Rod is later in progression. Do it again, and we get heal, and heal will just give us health. Like, you can see if I damage myself a bunch, and then heal myself, I get a bunch of health. There's also warp, which will teleport you to your spawn point. That one's just pretty standard. And then there's lightning, which will summon lightning. But yeah, now let's talk about the Forsaken. Also, I just want to mention, I added a desert biome to my mod. This is new. This isn't a... I didn't change the wasteland. This is just a new biome that looks kind of similar. Anyway, let's talk about the Forsaken, another boss that got reworked. You can see it still flies and kind of does everything it normally does. But now it summons locusts on you. And not only that, but it explodes and it shoots way more wither skulls. Like, this thing is a lot more destructive, and it also summons skeletons. Yeah, the Forsaken just summons a lot of crap. He also teleports, like, near you. So he's a lot more aggressive than previously, which kind of makes sense for a boss like this, you know? It's pretty easy to ignore the enemies he summons, though, because they're pretty light to kill. When killed, he drops all of this. We already know he drops Forsaken Foreskin, which we need for progression, and then he also drops Nether Wart, as well as Evil Stone and Evil Dust. Also, now when he dies, he actually cleans up the wither skulls that he summons. Alright, let's talk about the Enlightened one. This is the last boss to get a rework, and also the last boss, I think. Alright, summoning the Enlightened one is pretty much the same as normal. You just right-click, and there he is. And now the Enlightened one will throw poop at you now, as well as summon spike balls and throw poison. Not only that, but he'll also teleport and leave an explosion behind, as well as spam poison like before. About the explosion thing, though, pretty much what that means is if you get close to him and he teleports, you better run, because he's gonna explode. Like that. So that's something to keep in mind. You gotta pay attention a bit when you're fighting him. He's a lot more destructive now. I also fixed him so he doesn't fly, like, directly into the sun when you're fighting him anymore. There he is, he teleported again. Hi, buddy. Other than that, though, I didn't change much, but I'm pretty sure when he gets low enough, he'll summon locusts or drones. I don't really remember what he does. Anyway, let's see what he drops. He drops a lot of items, including redstone, fat blocks, Tor browser, weed, different types of circuits, and opium, as well as the final theory, which we need for the time machine. Now, we've seen all the pre-alien bosses, but there's actually 2 more bosses that we fight after the alien invasion. And I know I keep talking about the alien invasion. If you don't know about it, consult this video right here. But yeah, there are some bosses that we fight after it. To start out in the meat biome, we have to find these. This is wild hair, which can be plucked to get hair follicles. Now, using a hoe, you can till down meat blocks, and then you can plant your hair follicles. And when they're grown, you can collect the hair from earlier. We saw this like a bunch of times, but this is like the main way to get it. Now, with all the hair we collected and some plastic sheets, we can create wigs. And wigs can be worn on your head. They look like this. There's a bunch of different wigs we can make, actually. Like, here's a spiky wig. There's a perm wig, and this one's actually really important. Here's what they all look like on an armor stand. Kind of cool. I'm proud of these models. This took a long freaking time, by the way. Making custom armor with blockbench, at least the way I was doing it, was taking a long time. But yeah, wigs are actually kind of important if you wear them, because they give you the confidence effect, and confidence gives you more reach. Anything from mining to attacking, these can be really useful in fights, although it does take up your head slot, so that's a little... that could be a downside, I guess. Now, the reason why we need the perm is because it's used to summon a new boss. This boss is post-alien invasion, so I should actually get suited up for the occasion, you know what I'm saying? There we go. Set up with all the good old post-alien invasion gear, you know what I'm saying? Look at me shooting my lasers. But yeah, before we can craft the thing we need to summon the next boss, we need to craft the identifier, crafted with a super machine block, deluxe reflector, and blue bricks, and unfamiliar metal. And now this block is actually used to discover what unfamiliar metal really is. To use the identifier, we need a magnifying glass, crafted like so. And on a side note, these can actually tell you what block you're looking at. And with 2 of them and some sticks, you can craft glasses, which tell you what block you're looking at in the bottom corner. But yeah, anyway, we want to put our unfamiliar metal into the identifier, and gradually it will tell us what the unfamiliar metal actually is. But yeah, we learned that unfamiliar metal is really titanium. And now that we know what it actually is, we can use it for more diverse purposes. For example, titanium can be used to make these chargers. There's a hunger charger, an experience charger, and a health charger. The health charger will regenerate you at the cost of energy. The experience charger will give you experience at the cost of energy. And the hunger charger will give you hunger. I don't even feel like demonstrating it right now. I'm sure you get the point. And we can also use the titanium to make an electric pumpkin. This, along with a broken iPad, the perm from earlier, and also smart electronics. And now this is what we need to summon the next boss. With 2 super machine blocks and an electric pumpkin, we summon the Perminator, a new boss. I'm gonna take off my helmet because I don't want the X-ray effect. But yeah, this boss is pretty scary. He's doing a lot of damage because he spams fireballs and Dragon Balls. In fact, he's going to kill me. He does a lot of damage. But yeah, he's an evil robot, like Terminator kind of deal. That's why it's the Perminator. It's because he has a perm. He's also based off something from Shinecraft, and he killed me. I'm very far away. I'm just gonna summon a new one. But anyway, this is what he drops. He drops a lot of stuff, including iron, circuits, and hair, as well as cables, and the core of hatred. This is a guaranteed drop from him, which we need for crafting stuff. And it, combined with unknown metal and foundries and alien tech, is used to craft the Fury Furnace. Also worth noting, if you put unknown metal in an identifier, you get rhenium pieces. But yeah, we can use the Fury Furnace to melt down these pieces of metal that we have, like the titanium and rhenium, because it actually gets hot enough to melt these things, unlike the other furnaces. And it takes a long time to do so, I won't lie to you. But yeah, after that long process, we get titanium ingot. Technically, it should have given the scalding version, but I must have messed up the recipe. But yo, titanium ingot, and also there's rhenium ingots, which we'll get if we do this with the rhenium pieces. And we need these for some late game crafting stuff. Oh yeah. New metal means new crafting. The titanium actually has no recipes yet, but I have some planned. But the rhenium has a lot of stuff right now. The meteor staff, crafted like this, and meteor strikes, which are ammo for the previous. Now, the summon meteor is an extremely destructive item. Pretty much when you use it, you can plant a target for some meteors, and then they start raining from the sky, and they like carpet bomb like an entire area. Hey, I found more malachite. That's pretty fun. It's also spammable, so yeah, very destructive. Also, with rhenium, netherite, the flamethrower, and an iron sword, you can make the 1000-degree knife, which is the new best sword of the mod. And it does a lot of damage. I mean, look at it on a homunculus. That's doing a lot of its health. Debatably overpowered, but honestly, what it took to get here, it's fine. I'll just add more overpowered enemies that will balance it out, you know? Yeah, these new weapons are pretty crazy. Look at it. That's going to kill the homunculus. Yeah, it totally just did. And now I'm going to destroy its drops. But yeah, there's so much in this update. I'm not even going to showcase it all, to be honest. You can download this and check it out for yourself. I guess some little bits and bobs is dynamic armor, which is actually unfinished. The next update will be more about that. And then also the anti-gravity bow, which is a anti-gravity bow. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. This update took frickin' forever. And I had a lot of fun developing it, and I'm even more excited for the next update, because I get to build off of these new concepts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, join my Discord, follow my Twitter, play industrial basis, subscribe to my